Hello, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Drew Levine with Weston Media Center. We have a very special guest today, Gaumond, the town manager, who's come here to talk about all the great things you've been doing this past year. So let's just jump right into it.
Thank you.
First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. What do you want people of Weston to know about you?
Well, first I want to thank you for inviting me, and I want to thank our friends at Weston Media for agreeing to do this with me. This is a great opportunity, and the town of Weston has been a great opportunity for me as well. I graduated from the University of Maryland with a degree in government and politics, and then went on to get my master's degree in public administration. I never thought that I was actually going to be doing town management as my career. Yeah. I actually thought originally I was going to be working for NASA. That didn't work out so well, so I took a stab at government, and when I graduated from college, I took a job working in the state legislature. Okay. I worked as the chief of staff to a state representative from Springfield for about 10 years. State Representative Paul Karen was an intern sponsor for me for a number of years, and I really got to enjoy working in government. So after I got my degree in public administration, I started thinking about other ways I could use that degree. And the neighboring town of East Longmeadow was looking for a new executive secretary / town administrator, and I thought that would be a really interesting field to go into. I looked into it, and sure enough, I was hired on my first attempt to get a town administrator's job. I worked there for a good 2.5 years, learning a lot about municipal government, and a better opportunity came calling, the town of West Boylston, which was a very strong position. They were looking for a town administrator to replace somebody who had been there for a number of years. So I decided that I was going to apply for that. West Boylston was just north of the city of Worcester, and it was a good opportunity because I had more authority in that position than I had in the town of East Longmeadow. And I since stayed there for over 10 years. I became the longest town administrator in the town's history. Wow. Until I wanted to try something new, a town with more of an economic development focus. So I ended up going to the town of Sturbridge, which is, not only was it a heavy tourist community, but there was quite a bit of industry there as well. I was there for 3.5 years until my good friend Donna Vanderclock announced that she was going to retire, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to work for one of the more premier communities in the state of Massachusetts. And so I applied for the position here in Weston, and I was very fortunate to be able to be hired for this position.
Well, I think I speak for everyone when I say Weston's really happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
Coming up on a year now of you being here, can you recap a little bit of what your administration has done over the past year?
So whenever a new manager is hired, you spend a little bit of time just becoming familiar with the organization and with the town. I'm not from around here. I didn't grow up in this area. I grew up, as I mentioned, in the western part of the state. So, a lot of the things that I had to do in my first year was, learn about the community, go and meet with the boards and committees of the town, meet with the community groups, meet with residents, get to kind of know the people and the businesses that kind of make Weston the community that it is. So that's kind of what I've been doing for the first year, is trying to meet as many people as possible. I also came on at a time where we were beginning the budget process and the town meeting process. Yeah. And the town center project was starting to ramp up. Yeah. So I had a lot of things on my plate initially to kind of get myself oriented to the town of Weston. The things that I wanted to do to kind of meet the town, but the things that I also had to do, which was, get ready for the town meetings, start the budget making process, and start the town center, development project.
Yeah, so you said, getting to know the town. What's something you learned about Weston this past year that surprised you, and what was your biggest challenge this year?
Well, I will say that the one thing after working this is now the 4th town in my career that I've worked for, the one thing that sets Weston apart from other communities is the vast number of projects that this town is willing to take on. We have had a plethora of projects to keep us busy. It has been a nonstop cavalcade of projects coming through the front door. So it has been the most surprising and the most rewarding part of the job is just to be able to work on so many things, pretty much at the exact same time. There hasn't been a lot of downtime in my first year on the job. I can assure you of that. I'd also add that one of the biggest challenges that I would have, the union negotiations. I came in at a time where we had to negotiate with almost all of the union, the town side of government unions, had to negotiate with all of them at the same time. Negotiations can be challenging. It's also a little challenging when it's your first negotiations. It's also a little challenging when it's your first negotiations in a new town. So a lot of, kind of feeling each other out and seeing what everybody is about. So those have been the two biggest challenges since I've been here, and surprises. The vast number of projects and kind of jumping into the deep end on the union negotiations.
And what changes or improvements are you most proud of that you've accomplished here so far?
Well, I would say that when I was hired for the position, I was asked a very similar question in the interview process by the Board of Selectmen. The question was something to the effect of, what was I going to change when I started working for the town of Weston? And I pointed out to the selectmen that a few years ago, not too long ago actually, about 5 years ago, the town of Weston underwent a citizen satisfaction survey, and they studied through a polling mechanism the residents of Weston. How do they feel about the town? How do they feel about the schools, the police department, the fire department, the DPW? And the thing that I found most telling, and one of the most attractive components of taking the job here in Weston, is that the people of this great town really appreciate and utilize and understand their municipal services. I worked in government for a long time. Ever since I was 21 years old, I've been working in government. And I can assure you that the positivity numbers from the residents of Weston are through the roof. So I said to the selectmen in good conscience, what would you have me do? The police department, fire department, school department are all high performers, high reputation here in the town of Weston. If I was going to do anything, it would probably just mess it up. So what I said jokingly was, I really intend to, work very closely with the department managers, who are among the finest public servants that I've had the opportunity to work with in my career, and try to work around the edges, try to find ways to help them do their jobs better. And that's been the way that I've been approaching that task. The one thing that I think that I started new since I've been here, specifically as a way to get more information out to the residents of this town, is the town manager's Twitter page. I've been pretty avid in the attempts to try to get information out to the residents and business people and boards and committee members of the town. Things that are going on in the town, cute pictures of municipal government in action, just to try to increase the knowledge and expertise that the residents of the town bring to the conversations about the town. We have a lot to be proud of here in the town of Weston, and I want to use that as an opportunity and as a tool to be able to highlight those things for the residents.
And as you mentioned before, there's a lot of projects going on around town. What should people be on the lookout for in the next coming months?
Well, if they haven't been driving around town, the one thing that I would say is construction, construction, construction. we have a massive number of road projects undergoing in the town of Weston this summer in this construction season. It is led by the massive undertaking that we are doing in the town center. It has started a few weeks ago. They are in the process of trying to do the infrastructure work in order to bury the utilities. As such, it has a dramatic impact on the flow of traffic through the center of town. But we also have nearly $2 million worth of road infrastructure improvement projects. National Grid, Eversource, they're doing their utility work in the town. We're trying to fix and replace old pipes, old utility lines, repair gas leaks, for example, which has been an issue that the town has been facing for a number of years. You know, there's a lot of people digging into the road to improve our infrastructure and improve the utility infrastructure here in the town. It's overdue. It needs to be done. We're trying to time everything so that it works in concert with each other. We're also trying to tie things together so that the bulk of the work happens in the summertime when the town population seems to go greatly down as people go away for their summer vacations and spend time away from the town of Weston, so that when they come back to the town of Weston, they can find the new and improved infrastructure waiting for them. The other things that I would point out, we are in the process of bringing to town meeting, probably in the fall town meeting, a proposal for the renovation and reuse of the JST project, the Josiah Smith Tavern project. It's been something that has predated me, the discussions on this has predated me for a number of years, but there's exciting opportunities and developments coming for the reuse and readaptation of the Josiah Smith Tavern that I believe the proponents of that project will be bringing forward at the fall town meeting. We are sitting in one of the most beautiful structures in the town of Weston. And I can say emphatically that no one is more excited about the opening of our Arts and Innovation Center than I am as the new town manager here in Weston. It is such a great asset to this community. The residents of this great community deserve all the credit for being thoughtful in their approach to developing this property, developing this asset. I look forward to working with the library and the staff here at the Arts and Innovation Center on trying to make this really a crown jewel for the town of Weston. If you haven't been following the news, another major development going on in the community is the beginning of not one but two ZBA hearings on affordable housing. It is probably one, aside from the town center project, the one area where town staff, town volunteers are going to be most stressed and overworked for the upcoming year. There are two projects coming forward, one at 751 Boston Post Road and one is at 518 South Ave. Both of them are looking to bring a large number of new housing units into the town of Weston. People who live in Weston and use Weston roads to travel do not want to hear about more cars being added to our roadways, more traffic, more utilization of municipal services, whether it's at the senior center, at the schools, at the recreation center, at town hall, or even at the library. The fact is that we could be seeing one of the larger increases in population in the town in a very narrow window period of time. So municipal staff has a lot to think about, a lot to do to kind of get ready for the influx of potentially new residents coming in, new people utilizing our services. The schools is a great example of this. You know, are we going to need to build more classrooms? Are we going to need to build, hire more teachers? We don't know yet. It's too early to say. We're still very early in the process, but it is something that the residents of our great town need to be aware of, because it is something that will be an important consideration for us moving forward into the next generation. And then I will say that I've been working closely with the Finance Department and the Finance Committee on some changes, and the Board of Selectmen on some changes on the budget process moving forward. One of the things that the Finance Committee has been talking about in their meetings has been bringing some sort of performance measurement program to the town of Weston. I actually have a great deal of experience in implementing and administering a performance measurement program in a previous job, and I have a background in that. So I intend to be working very closely with our Finance Committee on developing, at first a pilot program here in Weston, and then over the years maybe developing it into an expansive program or a much more elaborate program of performance measurement. They have a rule of thumb that if you don't measure it, you can't manage it. Well, if our goal is to try to give the best service delivery to the residents of Weston, which is one of my core responsibilities, I want to be in a position to be able to justify with numbers, if I need to, the work that's being done. And then finally, I just want to add, I think a lot about ways of getting information out to the residents. I mentioned earlier about the town's Twitter page, but out of my office, we operate listservs and newsletters and alerts and announcements, both through our town's website and through our Facebook page and my Twitter page and the town's Twitter page. There are ways to get information. If you're a citizen at home watching on TV here, there are ways to get information about what's happening in the town. Where are the projects, happening? What things are going on that you need to be aware of? And I would encourage the residents of the town to go onto our town's website, sign up for our newsletters, sign up for even the selectmen's agendas. It will be emailed to you before the meetings. You'll be able to follow along and know what things we're working on and what things are our priorities. And, we look forward to that give and take with the residents of the town.
And we can include some of those links at the end of this video. And lastly, obviously, like you were saying, there's a lot of things going on. You're coming to the end of year one as the town manager, going into year two and into 2020. What are your biggest priorities?
Well, one of the things that we have had as a challenge, but also as an opportunity, is the number of vacancies that we've had in the town in the last year. We've created some new positions for sure, but we've also seen some critical staff people turn over due to either retirements or moving on to other opportunities. So filling the critical vacancies in the town is really a priority for us moving forward over the next year. And I would say that with the number of projects coming forward, finding new ways of managing projects, project management, I think is going to be imperative. Our DPW is really overworked. We, as I mentioned before, we have millions and millions of dollars worth of projects all being undertaken essentially at the same time. Between rail trail, town center, and regular road and drainage and water projects, it's a massive undertaking. And finding new and improved ways of managing all of those projects, and for me, merging those projects in with the other projects that are happening, for example, the Case House renovation or the Arts and Innovation Center or the JST project, finding ways to merge everything together in a cohesive way so that there are no pieces of the puzzle that don't get filled. That is probably the most important challenge facing our community in the next year to 2 years to 3 years.
Well, thank you again for coming out here and speaking with us. I think I speak for everyone when we say this is really helpful, and there's a lot of exciting stuff going on around town.
I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to come back at any time. We can do this on a regular basis if you'd like. I find it very helpful to be able to speak not only to you directly, but also to the citizens of the town. It's been a magical first year working for the town of Weston. I've enjoyed every minute of it. The people have been great, the staff have been great. I'm really looking forward to the next year or 2 or 3 or as many as the town would have me here.
Well, thank you again, and thank you everyone for tuning in. We will be back next month, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you, and have a good day.